Safe Sedation, the story of the Thalidomide tragedy. In 1956, the thalidomide tragedy began. Mothers, doctors, and nurses everywhere were confused by the extremely deformed children appearing in Germany, France, Australia, New Zealand, Spain, Canada, and the UK. Doctors used abortion to end the suffering of these deformed children. The thalidomide tragedy was a huge turning point in abortion. Before the thalidomide tragedy, only about 1,500 abortions happened yearly. Since then, the rates have gone up till they plateaued in 1965 at 4,500 abortions yearly. Thalidomide was developed by the Swiss pharmaceutical company Ciba in 1953 and was then introduced to the public by the German pharmaceutical company Chemie-Grünenthal in 1956. When Chemie-Grünenthal tested it on mice, it seemed impossible to die from an overdose, but neither of them tested it on pregnant animals. Thalidomide was sold under many different brand names, like Thalamide, Countine, Thalatiro, Kevidon, and Distavil. This made it extremely complicated to track down exactly who took and when mothers took thalidomide. Many countries also lacked the proper medical files, rendering it all the more possible to find everyone who needed to be compensated for the medical expenses thalidomide caused. Thalidomide is an enantiomer. An enantiomer is a pair of molecules that are mirror images of each other. Each side does a completely different thing. The left side of thalidomide has an agent that causes abnormality following fetal exposure during pregnancy. Because of that agent, if a baby is exposed to thalidomide while developing, the baby will be deformed. The German medical firm Chemie-Grünenthal advertised thalidomide as safe sedation. They were claiming that it was impossible to die from an overdose. They said it was quote-unquote completely safe. They encouraged mothers to use it for anti-nausea medication during their pregnancy. They also encouraged people to use it for motion sickness. They did all this, but never did the required amount of animal testing on pregnant animals. They made up many good things about thalidomide and got it sold to hundreds of thousands of people, many of whom were pregnant. Because of this, almost 80,000 babies were killed worldwide, and about 20,000 were physically disabled. 20,000 maimed babies or fetuses had shortened or missing limbs, deformed organs, and underdeveloped eyes. These deformities changed their lives, shortening and limiting them. But those were the lucky ones. Tens of thousands of children were miscarried or stillborn, their lives ending before they even started. Parents and doctors killed their children, thinking that the little child wasn't a baby, and if it was, it wouldn't live long anyway. Or trying to save the child from the pain of growing up with major disabilities, unable to do some of the simplest tasks. In that way, hundreds were killed, all in the name of saving suffering people. Many of the children who lived were left at hospitals and care centers for most of their childhood, because their families didn't know how or want to take care of them. At school, these children struggled to make friends. They had a hard time learning and often got bullied for their appearance. As they grew, they banded together to form organizations and fight for compensation. The thalidomide tragedy also did some good things short-term, like helping to pass a pending bill that fundamentally changed drug regulation, the 1962 Drug Amendments. All over the world, countries formed their own versions of the FDA, trying to protect from the thalidomide tragedy ever happening again. Germany has BfArM, Europe has EMA, and Finland has FMA. Almost every country has a drug regulating system now. In the 1960s, most countries did not have anything similar to the FDA. Now they are more careful in checking and regulating all drugs sold within their borders, so that something like this will never happen again. The thalidomide children are currently in their late 50s and early 60s. Their abnormalities are taking a heavy toll. They have back pain and injuries because of the constant need to contort their bodies to do things others can easily do. They have to pay medical bills to receive care and have not received enough money from Chemie-Grünenthal and other companies that distribute thalidomide to be able to pay these bills. Some thalidomide victims are struggling to keep their heads above the water. Many of them struggle to forgive Kemi Grunthal and the scientists who worked with thalidomide. Does Kemi Grunthal deserve to be forgiven when they apologized 50 years after the fact?
I'm one of the lucky ones in that my parents were adamant that I was their daughter, and their daughter first before anything else, and it was treated as such. Many were put in homes because they just didn't know what to do. Some families battled with doctors to have amputation of fingers and toes and whatnot to accommodate these prosthetics. Many families were broken irrevocably.
Long-term, the thalidomide tragedy changed the FDA's policies and similar administrations in other countries. The FDA grew stricter and more careful about what it let into the country. It also changed people's relationships with their doctors and medical administrations, diminishing their trust and confidence in their doctors and increasing their trust in the FDA and organizations that refused to sell thalidomide. It also helped Congress pass the Kefauver-Harris drug amendments to the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act. Before marketing a drug, it was decided that medical firms now had to prove not only safety, but also provide substantial evidence of effectiveness for the product's intended use. Most importantly, the thalidomide tragedy drastically increased the demand for abortion, leading to Roe v. Wade and the decision in favor of abortion being a right. Ever since, an abortion was given to any who wanted it until June 2022, when it was overturned. In the USA, thalidomide was not approved for sale by the FDA. More specifically, Dr. Francis Oldham Kelsey, a brand new member of the FDA, did not allow thalidomide to enter the USA until further testing had been done. Nevertheless, thalidomide was sold to many patients in unmarked envelopes. There is no record of who was given these thalidomide samples or when they were given. Jennifer Vanderbilt is the author of Wonder Drug, a book on the thalidomide tragedy in America. She claimed that unmarked packets of thalidomide were distributed by the William S. Merrill Company to thousands of people. Jennifer also said that there were way more than just the original 17 thalidomide children in America, the number most likely reaching closer to the hundreds. Wonder Drug was an extremely helpful source, especially because it was backed by her large bibliography and footnotes. She was also in a documentary providing further insights into the American tragedy. On the 60th anniversary of the thalidomide tragedy, Kemi Grunthal finally apologized to all the survivors and revealed a statue they made in their honor. A handful of other memorials have also been built, commemorating the loss of all those who died and all those whose lives were changed. The thalidomiders appreciated these memorials and the effort put into them. In 1961, Sherry Thinkbank took 36 thalidomide pills in the early stages of her 5th pregnancy. Sherry's physician recommended that she secure a therapeutic abortion. The hospital where she planned to have the abortion sought assurance that it would not be prosecuted. When assurance of that sort was not imminent, the abortion was canceled. They received hate mail and phone calls from people pleading for her not to have an abortion. Sherry and her husband then flew to Sweden, where she obtained a successful and legal abortion. The termination of Sherry's pregnancy is seen now as a turning point in the history of abortion rights in America. Lee Epstein, a professor of law and political science, wrote that Thinkbank's situation evoked sympathetic reactions from various organizations and, in essence, led to the creation of the American abortion reform movement. The thalidomide tragedy was a colossal turning point in this and every other nation's history. It encouraged countries to have organizations that examined drugs and helped pass the drug amendments of 1962. But most importantly, it changed how we treat our unborn children. We dispose of them for our convenience and think of them as nothing but a clump of cells, dehumanizing them so we are more comfortable ending their lives. Life is precious, from the moment of conception to the very last breath, and no disaster, no matter how big, should change that.